Hey everybody, now that we understand how to use the square root property to solve quadratic equations, in this module we're going to apply that knowledge to solve some real life application problems. And these application problems are going to be about a shape. And the shape we're going to talk about today is a right triangle. So if you remember from geometry, a triangle is a shape that has three sides. And to be a right triangle, one of the three angles must be a right angle, which means it must be 90 degrees. And a 90-degree angle means the two sides have to meet and be perpendicular to each other. So they have to be straight up and down. And we know the symbol for a right angle in your diagram is a little square. So if you look at the PowerPoint at my picture of the right triangle, you'll see by the letter B, angle B, there's a little square. That tells you that angle is 90 degrees. It's a right angle. Therefore, this triangle is a right triangle. Now, across from that 90-degree angle is a side. It's side A to C. And that is the longest side of the right triangle. And that side has a special name. It's called the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the side of the right triangle across from the 90-degree angle. The other two sides of the right triangle are called legs. Okay? So the two sides that make the 90-degree angle, where the 90-degree angle meet, intersect, those sides are called legs. Now, a long time ago, there was a famous mathematician. He was Greek. His name was Pythagorean. And Pythagorean found a relationship between the sides of a right triangle. And he found a relationship between the two legs and the hypotenuse. And this relationship he wrote as an equation, a formula. And this formula is now known as Pythagorean Theorem. And you may have all seen it before. The Pythagorean Theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Little a and little b would represent the length of the legs, and little c would represent the length of the hypotenuse. So what Pythagorean found out is if you take the two legs, their measurements, you square their measurements and add them. That would equal if you take the length of the hypotenuse and square it. That balance will always happen. So what this is important for is if I know two of the sides of a right triangle, I could always find the third side using this formula, because this formula holds true. What's important when you work this formula is you make sure you understand little a and little b are the legs, and little c is the hypotenuse. Now, if you look closely, a formula is an equation because it has an equal sign. And again, if you look closely, our exponents are 2's. They're squares. So this is not a linear equation. This is a quadratic equation. The quickest way to solve the Pythagorean theorem for a specific variable. So if I wanted to find the value of c squared, if I want to find the value of a squared or b squared, what I would do is I would use my square root property, because I'd want to get rid of that square by square rooting. So when we work with the Pythagorean theorem, which is a formula is an equation. This is going to be a quadratic equation because you have an exponent of 2. You're not going to solve this by factoring. You're going to solve it by square rooting. Now, we've seen when we do the square root property, we should get two solutions. We always put a plus or minus. However, because this is a real-life application and we're finding the length of one of the sides of a triangle, think about this. Can a length of a side of a triangle be positive? Yes, it can. Can the length of a side of a triangle be negative? No. So when we do the square root property to work the Pythagorean theorem, we're not going to put both plus or minus as an answer because we're finding a side. The answer is just assumed to be positive. Okay, let's go to the next video and we'll learn how to apply this knowledge.